Hi, and welcome to the Stefan Livera podcast, a show about Bitcoin and Austrian economics. Today's episode is a really interesting one. It's with Carlos Roldan, CEO and co-founder of Satoshi Games and the team behind Lightnite, kind of like Fortnite but with lightning and sats. So this episode is brought to you by Kraken, one of the world's leading Bitcoin exchanges offering a high-quality platform. They are the place to buy, sell, and trade Bitcoin. Kraken are one of the world's most liquid exchanges as well, which really matters if you're trying to make sure you are getting a good price. They offer low fees with no minimum or hidden fees. They offer 24/7 support. It's really easy to get support in the chat. And Kraken are also consistently rated the best from a security standpoint. Kraken have Kraken Pro mobile app and a futures app delivering all the security and features you love about the Kraken exchange in a beautiful mobile-first design. Kraken also offer an OTC desk for those seeking more private and personalized service for large block trades over 100,000 USD or more. Check out Kraken Margin up to 5 times and Kraken Futures up to 50 times leverage. Go and sign up at kraken.com or search Kraken Pro in the App Store or Google Play. This episode also brought to you by Unchained Capital, a Bitcoin financial services company. Their products are built on the foundation of multi-sig. So you can set up a vault which uses 2 of 3 multi-signature. You can use Trezor and Ledger with Coldcard coming soon. You would hold 2 of those keys. Unchained would hold 1 of those keys and be the cosigner or the backup option in case you need it. If you need a loan, if you need USD liquidity, as the saying goes, friends don't let friends sell Bitcoin. Unchained offer collateralized loans. You can put up some Bitcoin and receive USD. Your Bitcoin will never be rehypothecated and it's stored on-chain, dedicated multi-sig addresses. Go and check out the awesome content that Unchained Capital are producing on their blog and also their open source content, Hermit and Caravan. I think you'll enjoy partnering with them. Go and learn more, unchained-capital.com. Next, Swan Bitcoin. Bitcoin is better money, and you want to stack it regularly without manual processing, right? If you're in the US, you must look up Swan Bitcoin at swanbitcoin.com. You can link any major US bank account via ACH and auto buy weekly or monthly. The Bitcoin is delivered to your wallet or stored with a licensed and regulated custodian. Swan Bitcoin's focus is on education and Bitcoin advocacy. Jan Pritzker, the author of Inventing Bitcoin, is their CTO, and Brady from Citizen Bitcoin is head of education. I'm involved as an advisor with a small equity stake also. So there's givebitcoin.io for your Bitcoin gifting and go to swanbitcoin.com for your automated Bitcoin stacking. So if you've got your Bitcoins, are you keeping them safe? Check out CipherSafe at cyphersafe.io, producing the CipherWheel product. If you've invested in a Bitcoin hardware wallet, are you keeping your BIP39 seed backed up in a way that's fireproof, waterproof, rustproof, petproof, and tamper-evident? The CipherWheel is a new product. It's compact, comes in a wheel shape, it masks the words of your seed, and it's got a padlock tamper-evident seal. Make sure you or your loved ones have access to your Bitcoins if that accident were to occur. Orders are going out now. Go and order yours at cyphersafe.io. Here's the interview. Carlos, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
So Carlos, I've had the chance to meet you recently at the, not recently, at the Lightning Conference and also Baltic Honey Badger. I don't know, you're doing a lot of cool work with Satoshi's Games and also Lightnite. So love to jump into all of that. And I know, obviously, you're big into Lightning. So tell us, why are you into Lightning?
So when I saw for the first application of Lightning, that was the Lightning Plays from Koala, I just instantly realized the power of Lightning to make gaming experiences and to create circular economies within games. That I think, in my opinion, that's the biggest strength that can bring for product development in the gaming area.
Yeah, and did you play a lot of games yourself, and that was why you wanted to work into that field?
Yeah. I was coming from a gaming background. I've always been playing games and I've been into games. And then when I just jumped into Lightning and I saw the potential, then everything fit together. So it was like a perfect match.
Awesome. And I know you've got a little bit of history in the space as well, that you were working on different projects and so on before starting Satoshi's Games. So why did you start Satoshi's Games and when did you start it?
So it was started like back 1.5 years ago. And the actual reason was to actually get in touch more deep with the technology behind Lightning Network. So I could actually learn myself about Lightning. And then also as a test proof, so I could actually benchmark how Lightning was in games. So I had some data and results after doing it, and I wanted to know if there was actually a market behind that. And that was the reason why I actually jumped into a proof of concept, which is basically a mini clip website of Bitcoin games.
And you've got a range of games there. Tell us a little bit about what listeners will see when they go to Satoshi's Games website.
So basically, they all have like replicas of famous or popular games that they've been having, a success in the past, but they are now they've been Bitcoinized. So basically, they have some 8-bit style, and they also have some game mechanics that they have more incentives to play. So kind of sats back or Satoshi's hiding in the game and things like that. Or you can compete against others, and when you kill another opponent, you get the Satoshis or a part of it. So that's what you mostly find. So you find versions of Super Mario, or you find versions of Flappy Crypto. You have games like Lightning Agar, which is this multiplayer game that I was talking about.
Yeah, so Lightning Agar is a really interesting one as well. That's the one where you kind of walk around and you are kind of accumulating other pieces, and then you all go and fight each other at the end. Really funny game. And you got Super Bro as well, right? Like a Mario version where you kind of go along and pick up sats and so on. So another interesting thing about Satoshi's Games that I noticed is it has an interesting way of setting up your account. How do you set up your account there?
So basically, you have a few ways. None of them ask you for email and passwords, because in this project, I wanted to just get rid of the actual standard. And there are a few ways. One of it is actually doing a proof of payment. Basically, if you pay an invoice, you actually make it to have an account, and then your data gets persistent there, which basically entitles you to have avatars or to customize your account. And yeah, the actual reason is it's a quality filter. So I can having an account in Satoshi's Games also gives you access to playing Bitcoin games, which is the actual more premium feature of the project, the platform. And the reason where I put this system where you can pay an invoice, something as simple as that, is interesting because it brings a quality filter where I first test the user, their capabilities using Lightning Network, so they have an experience and they are going to have no friction when interacting with Bitcoin games because they previously know how to do a transaction on Lightning.
I see. So it's a bit of a test. If you can't successfully make a payment for 1,000 sats, then you might not be able to withdraw or deposit Lightning Bitcoins over Lightning into the website when you're playing and withdrawing and so on. Interesting stuff. And so I noticed as well when you do that, so you pay 1,000 sats. So at the time of recording, that's around 10 cents or whatever. And so then you have to copy that and keep that somewhere because that is your actual account.
Yeah, you have like a seed. So basically you can import or export your account and play in different devices and yeah, so you can have a more interoperability game experience within the platform. But again, that was more like a benchmark because we wanted to do a test so we can actually prove that Lightning games are worth it, not only for the consumer, as well for the provider. And if the actual motivation of that test was to actually find it out, so we can actually focus on a bigger strategy to make it happen in a more dynamic and more attractive way with a different game. And that was it.
Great. And so can you tell us a little bit about how you're thinking more broadly about how Satoshi's Games informed your future projects and other ideas around gaming and Lightning Network?
So we had a high demand of game developers that when they saw Satoshi's Games, they wanted to add their games or they wanted to add Bitcoin. So that was one of the cases where we actually had an impact on our roots. So we started to think how to develop products or services where this facility makes easier to other game developers to actually implement Lightning into their games or put their games into the website. However, due to the core architecture and it was a prototype, it was not an actual product to be fully delivered. It was not very easy or agile to do that in Satoshi's Games. And then we saw as well a high demand of users interacting that what they wanted to do is using Satoshis as their collateral when playing to other opponents, if that actually results on earning the other opponent's sats, which is the case of Lightning Agar. Because that was the hit, that was probably the best game that everyone reported in the platform, then we wanted to focus on a game that had the same strategy and actually had a high impact on the vision of creating a different product out of Satoshi's Games.
I think this is probably just goes without saying, but obviously the Lightning community right now is relatively small. Obviously, you can't make a business that only serves, current day, Bitcoin Lightning enthusiasts. It's got to be a game that actually appeals to people who are not necessarily into Bitcoin and Lightning. So how are you thinking about ways to get to those kinds of, or to get to that kind of audience?
Yeah, so first, I think it has to be progressive from the sense that we want to, I mean, that's the strategy we're following right now. We are not actually targeting, well, we're working on Lightnite, which is this game that is the star product that we put all of our efforts and resources on this at the moment. On this game, it's a battle royale. It's very classic to this kind of games like Fortnite, H1Z1, or PUBG, where these guys jump into a room and they play and kill each other for a time. And so this kind of is, we're actually taking advantage of this trendy topic. So we're actually using a game that is globally accepted as a success. And then we're actually changing kind of the incentives mechanics to bring different strategies for the gamer that they actually incentivize more the gameplay. So basically, we are making a game that is a global success as a standard, and then we're adding the results that they were the most attractive results of Lightning Agar and Satoshi's games into that game. So it's interesting, this question, because the way we want to onboard traditional gamers and users that they are aside from the crypto community, we first need to show them the problem that they are actually experiencing, which some of them they don't see it yet. And that's the actual challenge, trying to onboard them, because you have to demonstrate that currently they are consuming a product that doesn't completely satisfy them until you provide them with something better. Something very similar that happened with Blockbuster and Netflix when they come together and one, bank the other one.
Maybe this is like the Henry Ford. If I asked them what they wanted, they would have asked for, a faster horse, right? But maybe there's an appeal there for people to play something like Fortnite, but with the ability to make money and make sats out of it. And then obviously there's all the in-game items and so on. So can you give us an overview? What will Lightnite look like when we're playing it?
So the first that I want to emphasize is about the gaming experience, other than the economy of the game or the Bitcoin integration. I mean, it has to be a beautiful experience. It has to be as beautiful as possible, and it has to maximize the gaming experience. And it doesn't have to be like currently blockchain games that they are, blockchain all over the place. 90% of the game is blockchain, and then they have some gaming experience, which is ridiculous. We want to make the game an entire product that, together with the animations, the design, the Easter eggs, the game mechanics, and then the Bitcoin integration, all of them make the actual beautifulness of the game. So, and we think this is very important because it doesn't matter where the skins are stored, or it doesn't matter where the Bitcoin integration happens if there is not an actual incentive to consume the product. So the actual issue happens from the scratch, from the architectural development of the game mechanics. So we actually got together and designed a game where we prioritize and maximize the circular economies of every single role involved in the game. And just when you actually start gaming or start playing the game, you will see that it's a normal game, in the sense that this is the classical beautiful game like Fortnite or any other kind of game that is beautiful, but it also brings additional capabilities to the consumer, to the gamer, that affects directly to the motivation to play due to the incentives that they are in the game.
Yeah, and definitely I was quite excited when I saw the video and the promotional material that you and the team have put out. Can you tell us a little bit about the journey that you're going on and what sort of timelines you're working on? As I understand, there's the pre-sale. I made an order on the pre-sale. And can you tell us a bit about the schedule that you're operating on there?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to go for announcing and launching the first single player like a few weeks ago. We got a bit delayed, and we are actually launching this month. So hopefully during this and the next week, we are launching a single player, which is basically a minimal prototype that puts together all of the core features of the user controller that can actually play around the area, some shadowing, some design, some Lightning integrations about the visual effects. Then we're actually going for the next month to launch the first prototype of the multiplayer, where we can actually allow that. This is in April, and we can actually allow users to play, in a real-time multiplayer. And then over the summer, we're gonna keep working on the game policing and adding more Bitcoin metagame features on the game. So we will be doing more iterations of the user interface, and we'll be creating better systems for the HUD, which is actually the screen that the user sees in the game, and improving basically what it is based on the community feedback, because we are releasing early. We are focusing on an early release, and then we are going to go through an open development strategy where we are going to build based on what the community asks and demands. And then by the end of the year, we'll be actually doing a global launch, in the sense that we are actually adding support for mobile and for consoles that we are gonna aim for, as well as the next iterations of the game will include support for virtual reality and other things that we like and we would like to explore, but that will be way for second Q or third quarter of 2021.
Will it be primarily a PC game, but then you'll also have a mobile version with it, or what's the thinking around cross-platform?
Yeah, the strategy is to have a desktop game where it's in the PC and you play, in order that once the game is in high quality standards due to the all iterations of the development and it goes out of the beta, then it will come out as an official game on mobile, PlayStation and Nintendo and all of these devices that they are also attractive for traditional gamers.
Yeah, and is it going to be like, you're a PC gamer, but you can also be playing with someone on mobile?
Yeah, I mean, we want to make it as much interoperable as possible, and we want to work to maximize that. So that's our focus to do that. That's our target. That's the end goal, to make it possible.
Cool. And so I mean, it's a shooting game. Can you talk us through what are some of the typical game modes going to be? Is it going to be like a deathmatch style, or capture the flag, or last man standing? Like, what's the thinking there?
So all of those things you described, we call them like missions, and there's a wide variety of missions that we can include. And the good interesting thing is that users can claim and demand missions that they actually can propose, and then we're open to hear that, and we are open to see if actually, if they vote for other missions, then we can develop them and make it happen. But all of these kind of challenges or missions, like capture the flag or go to this point or kill one open a specific guy of the game, they are into something we call the casual mode, which is something that is not competitive at all, and you just go there, play, and maybe if you complete some set of missions, then you get rewarded with either skins or sats. And that's cool. But this is not new. We're not making something new here. It's the same as happens in Fortnite or other games, where basically you just play in a deathmatch in a room, and then you can either go and follow the missions or just have fun playing that. And that's cool, but that's something that we actually think that is going to be a high demand for that. But we're bringing something new, and this is what I actually want to emphasize, because I think is, in my opinion, the TNT. It's like the bomb of the game. Something that it has not been done before. And let me explain the concept. So, in order to explain the concept, first I need to settle down, to settle up some differences between Fortnite or PUBG or all of these games and Lightnite. Since the company mission is bringing circular economies within gaming experiences, the standard that we are following to make this happen is that, as well as you can buy items in the store, you can sell those items. And as well as you can sell those items to any other user, you can actually withdraw your profit using Lightning. And this actually, close the circle. Because in other platforms like Steam with their games or Fortnite, you cannot actually sell the items to any other players. And in case you can, like Counter-Strike, there is a community marketplace, you cannot actually withdraw the profits, because basically you get the Steam balance, which is the Steam coin that is basically a database coin that you cannot actually withdraw. So the money stays there. So it's like a linear economy going from the consumer to the provider, and that's the end of the story. We don't want to do that, and we are not actually doing it. We are actually closing the circle. So if we start with this actually game mechanics where you can have this circular economy within the game, then we explored a brilliant mode that can catch up with esports, because Battle Royale have not actually catch up very much with esports, in the sense that they go for a more social aspect, which includes going influencers and streamers, put them together in a room and make something social, but not something very, very competitive or skill-based. And probably this is because the skill mechanics or the actual skill based mechanics of the game. The way we're actually overcoming this is doing a game mode where we call it arena. Basically, you jump into this arena with guys, and when you're jumping with the matchmaking process pairs you with guys of the same level, so there's a rank system and the same value of the items you currently are wearing. So this is interesting to analyze because if you for this arena game I bring my skin that costs X and my hat that costs Y, then I get paired with other players that they have same values bringing to the game and the same level, same rank. So then we are all together in this room. We're in the map playing, either me if I'm playing solo or with a squad. And if I get killed, my actually items drop to the floor, and I lost them. I mean, I actually brought them at the beginning as a collateral, but now I lost my game and they are in the floor. And if any other player comes and grabs the loot of their user and make it to win, they actually have now in the inventory. So now they can actually play for a reason. But it's very skill-based strategies because in a fraction of a second where you are actually grabbing the loot of a dead player, you have to choose because you have a backpack and that has a limited amount of slots, and then you have to take the wise decision whether you want to have a better upgrade of gun that user may have, or ammo, or a skin that is so valuable. Because maybe the most greedy option is not the most strategic option. And something very interesting making a point on the scarcity here is that if no one grabs that loot and stays on the game and the game is the game is finished, then that actually unit is disappeared, affecting the total supply of that specific asset and making making the market and the demand and the supply to decide about that price, making a behavior where the actual first assets of the first season passes they get more rewarded, they increase in value over the time.
Then basically you go into this death match, and obviously that's like an opt-in style, and if you lose your gear, then basically you've lost your gear, and it's kind of like a winner takes all system. But as you were saying, there's still a strategic element of what items that person would pick up because they've only got limited space and they still want to be able to win the match. So does that mean it would be like really expensive to play each round, or like how would that work?
No. Well, first I didn't mention this, but this is up to the user. I mean, I'm not making this aggressive. So users can either go and play the casual mode where missions challenge and it's basically like a Fortnite style game. There are nothing to lose, nothing to win. Maybe if you get Easter eggs and maybe you get some missions, you win things. But it's not a high reward. It's an incentive reward. It's a symbolic reward. Here you know that you're gonna play, and you can choose the actual value of your skins because those are in the market, and market decides what cost. So maybe you can bring maybe a few assets that they maybe in total are $5 worth, or maybe you can actually bring your $100 assets that they are high demanded assets. For example, each asset has a different type. We have 3 types of assets. We have the normal assets, basically those assets that doesn't have any value at all, in the sense that they are unlimited. So there is an unlimited stock. And then there are assets that they are premium, that they are 500 units. And once the assets are 100 and below, they are rare. And then you have the other exceptional case where an asset can be legendary, which means that because it happened from being rare from one state, and there was so many guys playing in a battle royale, up to the exceptional case that there is only one guy standing with that asset, making only one unit and leaving the space to that guy to decide what's the price of that asset. But there is no. I mean, we're making this as a frictionless experience, so users doesn't feel that they need to actually put a lot of money because you can scale up. There are scaling systems for this. For example, if you have 10 unlimited assets, 10 normal assets that they actually worth barely anything, you can all put them together and then you get a premium asset, a randomly premium asset. So you can scale up in terms of assets without necessarily having to compete against each other.
Gotcha. And I presume there'd be like an in-game store and things. How would that work? Like the user goes and buys the items either from the store or from other players?
Exactly. I mean, initially the store is currently the store is in production. You can go there and buy assets. Currently, what it is basically is a linear store. It's a linear economy store based on that currently users are buying assets from us and they're holding it. In the meantime, we are finishing the development of providing the marketplace for them to sell them, and we and our company to provide the tool to do that, to making community trades, and then they can actually sell and trade their assets there.
So you mentioned how there's the casual version that has no Bitcoin at stake, and then you might have a version where there is Bitcoin at stake. Is that going to be also a kind of thing where it's kind of like people put Bitcoins or Lightning sats at stake in the game itself, other than the items?
Yeah, so initially we were thinking about doing that as a mission. So you go to the casual way, and then there is during this period of time, from this week to this week, you can play the Bitcoin at stake mode, and which is in the casual mode, and it's not competitive. Well, it's competitive from the sense that you're playing with ranges of Satoshi that you can either pick up or lose. And yeah, actually this mode we started to do in the development and the design, thinking of this, and basically your sats that you put up front, they're actually your health bar. So basically, when they're killing you, they're killing you. They're like sucking your health and adding the other opponent as a shield bar. So the more you're killing other players, you're taking more stats and you have more shields. So you're harder to kill. And that's the actually game mechanics that we did for this specific mission from the casual mode.
Got it. And so, as you were mentioning, the single player version will be out relatively soon, and then you'll start with like progressively more and more have like a multiplayer and so on. When are you anticipating the final version ready for just mainstream use?
The mainstream one I would anticipate between first quarter, second quarter of 2021, and that's where actually it's kind of more fun to play the game. And this is interesting because right now the single player we are releasing is not it's not designed to be fun at all. It's just designed to receive feedback to make the game fun. And in the sense that we want to improve heavily on the game style, the game sound effects, all of the game aspects, because we already are heavy on the Lightning integration and we already are prepared for what we want to do. However, we want to again maximize the gaming experience to make it a game not for Bitcoiners or for crypto communities. It's a game that for no coiners and traditional gamers to onboard them into Bitcoin. And that's the actual reason. That's why we have to maximize the gaming experience.
Yeah. And as you were talking about the idea of getting people in who are not necessarily Bitcoin people, how are you envisioning that? Is it just basically on the strength of the game that you see people basically telling their friends? And also, I guess one other component is kids might want to play these games, and then they can start getting used to using Bitcoin as well. So do you see that as an angle?
Yeah, and I also think that a game or this game can become the next tier up for Bitcoin mass adoption because of this, because gamers, have the perfect behavior consuming services in games, that they already know how to do transactions. I mean, they already have balances in their game, and they also have a store, and they are committed to do transactions within the game. The only thing that you are switching between the Bitcoin and that specific game without Bitcoin is you're also giving the option that as well as you can do a transaction in, you can do a transaction out. And then you also actually have to teach them that in order to do a transaction out, they need to have a Bitcoin wallet and they need to do all of the procedures. But they are already used to this kind of behavior in the game. That's where I think that, the switch has to be minimal in the sense of the user experience. So they don't need to know what's a Satoshi or what's a channel. Nothing at all. They only need to see the numbers going out and going in. And actually in the background, that's where the technology has to make all of the frictionless experience.
Are there any apps that you are foreseeing people will use with Lightnite? I mean, are you thinking like, Phoenix or Wallet of Satoshi or Blue Wallet or Breeze or anything like that?
Yeah, I think, but in general, we're going to recommend a curated list of all major wallets that we think that they're focused on UX experience other than privacy or security, which, in my opinion, I think should be the high standard. But currently, we live in a world where first you need to go for the UX in order to realize that you need privacy. But yeah, so we'll focus for UX based wallets like SAP, Blue Wallets.
Awesome. And then I guess getting more into the technical aspects of it, I presume you're also going to look at things like LNURL for withdrawal and so on to make it fast.
Of course, that's a must. But in the sense that it has to be technology implemented, and and the user doesn't even have to notice. They need to know that this thing is part of the game. They don't even not to know what's LN But of course, in the technical side, we're going to implement LN as well as any other type of implementation that they're going to result on a minimal friction for the game, for the user experience in the game.
Right, and I guess, so obviously my show is more for the Bitcoin and Lightning enthusiasts, so we can go a little bit more into that stuff as well. Tell us a little bit more about your thoughts in terms of which Lightning implementation you're using and any other, Bitcoin or Lightning specific things that you're looking at.
Sure, yeah, currently we are using LND, and due to the modular flexibility of using authenticated macaroons is my first priority. I mean, I like the way it's designed, and I'm actually interacting with the community, and that's what I'm choosing that as well, because it's very easy for me, since that's where most of my experience has been since the beginning of Satoshi's games. I've been using LND, and that's why also we are using LND too.
Yeah, and I presume then you will have like your own node, and you can sort of tell people, hey, set up a channel with me and stuff like that, and yeah. Also, are you looking forward to anything in terms of Lightning development coming up? Is there anything that you're really keen to see come into the protocol or come into the wallets?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm very, very hyped, and I'm very, I'm looking closely to the next, to the newest in, how to say? Yeah, I'm very excited about the newest upgrades about the invoicing systems that they are doing different strategies to have subscription invoices, and push payments are also in my radar. So those kind of integrations, they are gonna give us so many opportunities using creative ways to make more enhanced gaming experiences where we can maximize the game incentives, to play. That's what I'm actually watching closely, because I think that push payments and subscription invoices are very, very attractive, and we can do many interactivity things with that within the game.
So you mentioned subscription invoices. Is that using a HODL invoice format, or what's that? What would that be using?
So, well, initially, I'm not very well concerned about the way it's structured, in the sense that if it's using a HODL invoice. I remember it was introduced by Rusty on the Lightning conference, when he was also mentioning about this type of other invoices. He introduced it, that they were for charity, for donations.
I see. Yeah, I think if I recall correctly, and maybe Rusty can tell us if we got that wrong, but Rusty was talking about a more advanced form of ordering, and so I think in his mind he was looking at LNURL and saying, hey, why don't we get something like that, a little bit more like that at the protocol level, and have more advanced ways of doing these ordering, such that it can be done at a protocol level. And also, as you mentioned, LND, I think another interesting concept might be TLV, right? So you might have seen recently Yoast and Gugaro, I think Oliver is his first name, and Desiree Dickerson from Lightning Labs have recently set up, and I think it's kind of like a proof of concept. It's a TLV store where literally you copy paste the command and that command actually has some other information encrypted into it as well, like the address to ship the stickers to. So that's another idea as well, that potentially going forward, it depends if you were going to do have the address or have like stickers sent out to the users or the customers, then maybe that's like another idea as well. Do you have any thoughts on that kind of idea?
Yeah, I think that's interesting as well, but I will need to explore more in deep the technological aspect of it, in order to to do brainstorming about how this can impact to the gaming experience.
Of course.
But also another point to this topic, something that I'm also watching very closely as well, and I'm trying to see more updates and news about this Lightning integration, is running a Lightning network within a Liquid network. That is something that we have heard, and I've seen tests and results, but it's still pretty early, and I'm also very excited to see how this is coming along, and if this brings us more flexibility about using this, in order for creating assets more interactive and Liquid.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So, as I understand, I know. I think Christian Decker was doing some work around making C Lightning work with Liquid, and I presume as well. You're mentioning Liquid. The Liquid has this concept of tokenized assets, and so the most well-known, obviously, is LBTC, which is like the Liquid version of Bitcoin. But obviously, you can also create other forms of assets, and they could represent potentially game items, and then people might be able to potentially trade those around on the Liquid network using Blockstream Green or some other software, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. So that's also very interesting. That's also very interesting because for games, they may have a plus on that, but it's also that I'm not very. I mean, it's interesting because at the beginning, the users that they will claim that in our case, for example, in Lightnite, we have many claims about where are going to be those skins assets stored. And we're actually now looking for an integration that we are actually doing at the moment, where we actually playing with Liquid. It's interesting because I mean, in my sense, I would appreciate that all of the users demand this feature, but I don't see that this is going to be a critical feature. I mean, it is now because our short-term community and users are Bitcoin users or crypto users that they are privacy sensible, which is how everyone should be. However, my actual target, which are gamers, no coiners, again to onboard them into Bitcoin, they don't care. They don't really care at all about if that asset is stored in a database or not, because they don't even care about making profits or making satoshis out of the game. They just play a game and they don't know that they have other possibilities. So it's going to be a hard way to actually educate them in the sense that they are interacting with value where they can actually obtain some value. And that's what I mean. That I'm very optimistic about implementing a system like this. However, it's not going to be a high priority, even though that right now there is a demand because my most amount of users they are privacy sensible and I'm also privacy oriented too. But I see that most of the users will care more about the gaming experiences because they are gamers, other than the privacy structure about the skins in the game. And this is interesting as well to analyze.
Of course. I wouldn't, definitely keep it simple is the right approach on this kind of thing. And although, you and me and the listeners of the show might be really interested in the technical aspects of, could we have Lightning and Liquid and so on? Definitely, you've got to consider your actual market, and your actual market here is gamers. Gamers don't necessarily care about that idea. Maybe they will in the future, but you have to build for short to medium term, not necessarily forgetting the aspect of bringing them in. Another interesting area I was interested to discuss with you is around community, right? So community maps, community plugins, community, etc. What's your plan around that and having, say, community developed maps and whatever else?
Yeah. We actually want to follow this open development strategy and creating mods for other users, designers, and game developers where they can integrate the actual ideas and thoughts. Not an open source development, but it's an open software development where we bring these tools to do that. They can actually be part of the map developers. They can create things to the map. They can design Easter eggs and integrate the Easter eggs in the community list where other users can vote if that's a good Easter egg or that's a bad Easter egg, and they're voting each other's work and ideas like proposals, and then the most voted proposals either for game design or for style or for music effects, they can vote everything, and then those gets implemented in a democratic way. Not only that, we also want to maximize the role of designers. So in the sense that, let's say you buy a skin, right now all of the skins are being purchased from our designers. And this is something cool, so we can start at the beginning, we can do some metrics, and that's cool. But we want to actually delegate this task on a community group of designers where they actually can do designs, add them to the store, people vote on them, the most voted they get implemented. And now when they're buying a skin from our store to any user or to us or to whoever, this designer now can have a commission out of this trade. And this also incentivizes a competition within these developers or designers, because now they're going to be focused on the community demand. So they're going to be supplying designs and skins that the actual community is demanding. No matter if currently what the high demand is Bitcoin designs, or they are going to be, I don't know, trendy topics, things like things that may be interesting in that specific period of time.
Yep, and I saw recently you showed you have a TFTC, Tales from the Crypt skin gun. Tell us about that and how that came about.
Yeah, that's actually how it all started. That's why I actually make it to be here too, because we jumped with Marodel, which is actually one of the first guys that made possible this Lightnite game. Because then I remember being in Riga in this conference, and where he actually suggested to, hey, why don't you do, guys, like a battle royale? That's gonna be awesome for it. So he actually put the seed on that. And since then, he's also been so supportive, up to the point where we actually things started to get more solid, and then we started to implement this skin system where we started to do some collaborations with podcasters, major wallets, and so on. And then we decided to do a skin with him. So we started to propose some ideas, and then he suggested to the final skin to be this gun and this style, and it was kind of nice. I really liked the gun, and then we put it there, and people started to love it, and then people started to do, hey, I want more of this. I'm following this guy, and I want to have this skin of this more guy. So this is started to create a high demand because of the social aspect of the skin, more than the attractive or the visual design. So people started to request skins from many guys and many entities, and then we started to hide so many demand for that actually kind of make us to work so much. But it's beautiful because people love it, and we love that the people likes it. So it's very interesting.
Right, yeah. And it might be funny because I guess during the initial periods, they might have, some, a podcaster themed gun or whatever. But then as you go to the more mainstream audience, they're not going to understand that, right? Like they're not necessarily going to be listeners of, Tales from the Crypt or my podcast or whatever. But it'll just be funny to see that happen.
Yeah, and I think it will be like an interesting footstep, like that is there. Some of them don't understand it, but the people that understand it, they're worth understand because they were there from the beginning. So that's actually the good effect that I like about that. And that's why actually we have a new skin here that is for this podcast too. So we actually call it Infinity Beta. So it's gonna be like a melee weapon where you can actually it has a combination of both. It's like a super. I mean, I will send the link so you can share it. But it's a melee and at the same time like a gun that is also mid range, and it's like a virtual reality sword that is also a pistol at the same time.
Yeah, that sounds really cool, man. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that when I play the game. So is there anything else you wanted to talk about? We could also talk about wish lists for Bitcoin and Lightning. Some people might think, okay, well, look, there's all this development coming and so on, but even now, Lightning works today, right? You can use it right now. So is there anything that you think, is needed at a protocol level, or do you basically think we've basically got what we need to make this game happen?
I think right now we basically have what we need to make this game happen. What we need is time to actually put all of this mess together and make it like a beautiful gaming experience. I think probably there are more things that we need in the non-Bitcoin stuff than the Bitcoin stuff, because in our team we're stronger in Bitcoin, and we also have a strong point in the game development. However, implementing a Bitcoin integration within a game, in our case, is way more easy than implementing a beautiful game. It requires a huge amount of time and resources. That's why, I don't know, Fortnite has thousands of guys working 8 hours per day, and we are still a startup, and we are making this happen from a different point of strength, because we are good at the game development and we're good at the Bitcoin integration, but now the game development is way heavier than the Bitcoin integration. And currently what we need from the Bitcoin or Lightning stuff is just creating all of the internal economy of the game, which we can already start implementing that very easily. And since we all run our own nodes and we all have our own internal infrastructure, it's not something that we need to request more from the protocol stuff. But at the same time, I'm very happy to see the newest updates about different types of invoicing systems or architectural different things that they can actually bring more creativity options to implement Lightning in the game.
Fantastic. So tell us where we're going from here. Where do you see it going? Do you see it like the typical customer might be a kid, and then that kid might have their first exposure to Bitcoin and Lightning by playing the game?
Yeah. That's something that I think is gonna be first one of the most fulfilling things that about this product, in my personal opinion. Secondly, this is not something that is already happening. I mean, I received direct messages from that, from parents that they are saying, "Hey, my kid is so addicted to Fortnite, and I want to bring this game so he can actually make money out of it." And when this happens, I mean, I feel so satisfied that sometimes I get even, I give them an access for free, or so I want to keep incentivizing this behavior of young adopters, kids, like very young people playing this game because they're eager to interact with this technology and make it easier so than any other guy. So I see that there's a potential with this group of people, especially because we are designing the game with a very cartoonish design, which is, it's oriented for kids, in the sense that not that kids will understand it, and that's why we are using this kind of visual design. And yeah, so that's basically one of the behaviors that we are exploring. We also have something similar in Satoshi's games. There were so many dads that they were bringing their kids to play the games just because some of the games they were from a very old time, like Super Mario, and they see that it's the same game as always, but with the technology they love. So it's like something that they feel like very, very satisfied, and they bring their kids to play.
Yeah, that'll be really cool to see. And I think it is true when we're talking about social change in general. Oftentimes it happens just from change of generations, right? And because Bitcoin has been around, especially for kids, it's basically been around for their whole lives. By the time the games kind of come out and so on, that's a good angle for people to have some exposure to Bitcoin, to the non-hardcore Bitcoin audience, as maybe you and I are. So, look, Carlos, is there anything else you wanted to mention? Any parting thoughts for the listeners?
I think this has been a good conversation, but yeah, the only thing is like what I mentioned before about the skin. So for all of your audience, they have their skin there, they can grab it, and if they buy the game using that link, that it gives them for free the skin, and it also gives them a 20% discount that if they don't go through a link like this, they cannot obtain. So that's a gift for your audience.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. And Carlos, make sure you let the listeners know where they can find you.
Sure. They can find me on Twitter, like NYT there, and they can follow Satoshi's Games, which is at Satoshi's Games or straight. And the actual game product, the Lightnite product is Lightnite Game. And yeah, that's where everyone can find me.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining me, Carlos.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, Stephen.
Hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to support the show, you can go to my website, stefanlivera.com. There's a support page there. If you want to join my Patreon group, you basically get ad-free early access to these episodes, and you also get access to a private Keybase chat group for me and my supporting listeners. And you can find the show notes at stefanlivera.com/156 for this episode. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the Citadels.